How to identify and evaluate risk mitigation strategies. First, you want to select and implement information security management methodology. It could be COBIT, could be ITIL, doesn't really matter. Whatever is comfortable for your organization. Select and establish an impact assessment methodology, be it quantitative or qualitative. Quantitative, actual dollars and cents. Qualitative, based on a scale, usually using the Delphi method or similar. Define and document the methods for measuring the effectiveness of controls and countermeasures. After all, it needs to make sense fiscally. It has to actually work, has to offset more damage than that control is going to cost you. Cost-benefit analysis, critically important. Major axiom of security, must make fiscal sense. Establish metrics that can be used to effectively and repeatedly measure the effectiveness of the control. Is it actually providing benefit? And is it doing so in a cost-effective manner? Fiscal priorities keep coming up. You're going to hear it constantly. Identify and document acceptable levels of risk. How much risk you're willing to accept. You're not going to be able to eliminate all risks. You got to deal with some. You drive, you have insurance, your deductible is your acceptable level of risk. The whole car being destroyed, the other person's car being destroyed, huge medical bills, you don't want to deal with that. You give that to an insurance company, you sign it out. But you're willing to accept the deductible. It's the acceptable level of risk. Define and document general risk mitigation strategies. What controls you're going to look at. What insurance company, how you're going to sign it out or transfer, if you're going to seek indemnification. If you're going to try to avoid risk, it's a risk mitigation strategy, avoiding risk. However you want to handle it to bring it down to an acceptable level. Identify potential remedies, controls, and countermeasures. Some controls are going to be fantastic, make sense fiscally, offset a whole lot of dangers, offset the risks, do so at a low cost. We love those. But some of them, not so great. They cost more than you're going to receive benefit from. Yeah, you evaluate them and you throw them out. You may have multiple controls that all do great things, offset damage, and do so in a cost-effective manner. But how many of them are reasonable to implement? Maybe this one for $500 offsets $1,200 worth of damage. This one for $600 offsets $1,300 worth of damage. They're fantastic. But you implement both of them, and together they offset $1,400. Is the difference of adding the other one in actually providing enough benefit to the incremental increase of $100 or $200 saved is not worth the $500 or $600 for the control. So it may not make sense to have more than one. It may make sense to have 5 or 6. But you have to look at them together versus separate, and that can change the cost-benefit formula for you, or the results of it. It doesn't change the formula, it changes the results. Perform a cost-benefit analysis on the proposed and current controls. It has to make fiscal sense. Look at what you currently have. Is it providing the security you need? Should you supplement it? Should you replace it? You still want security. Maybe you don't need it. Maybe your processes have changed. Other things have come in that have provide defense or kept things running the way they should. And that control, not that control, but the money can be spent on a control protecting another area more effectively. Establish procedures for identifying gaps in the current control set. The security you desire, the security you currently have. The difference is the gap. You need to implement controls to reduce that gap to 0 from where you want to be. Where you want to be may still have risk. In fact, it most likely will. But instead of having the $1,000 risk that you have, you reduce it down to $100, which you found acceptable. That's fine. There is an acceptable level. You have to meet it. Anything worse than that, if it's not acceptable, by definition, it's unacceptable. Implement controls in a cost-effective manner to get you to the acceptable level, and then that's the amount you're willing to eat. And continuously communicate with the organization regarding the status of the risk management efforts so they know how much risk they're facing. Executive management will look at expanding when risk is low, taking on new things because they can accept more risk, When the risk is high, they'll step back from new things because they're not going to put the company into greater exposure to danger from the risks. And the implementers want to know how much risk is there so they can implement controls to help deal with that and mitigate it so management becomes happy and they can make wise decisions for the future.